If you're feeling stuck in life and you feel like your financial, your love life, your health life isn't where you exactly want it to be, I've been there before, and I know that feeling. It can be really tough, but something that I found incredibly influential for me was learning other people's playbooks. And once you find someone else that's been very successful and built a life that you really are excited about, and you learn their playbook, then you can decode what are the elements that you want from that life and start to build that into your own system. And so by reading a lot of trial and error, a lot of failing, I've built a life over my 20s and now into my 30s that I'm really excited about. And it's something that I'm really excited to share in this video. I'm going to cover quite a lot, from financial freedom to love life to health to happiness to thinking about all of these different elements, integrity, mindset, all of the core pillars that have been super influential for me. So if you're interested in this, let's dive in. So the first pillar is escaping the rat race. So what I mean by that is getting enough money where you can live a life on your own terms and you never have to work for someone or something that you don't really believe in. And when I was younger, I had the belief that so long as I was making at least $70,000 a year, then any incremental income wasn't going to correlate to my happiness. So I just had to find a job that I liked and then make sure I was living a life that I loved. But the problem with that is, firstly, a lot of things come up in life. For example, you might want to give to your family, or you might have health concerns, or you might want to travel, you might fall in love with someone and need to move to another city. And you want to have flexibility of your time to really control your life how you want it to be. And then also with a job, there are times where you have to do things that are out of integrity or authenticity to yourself. And that can be really painful and challenging for yourself. If you have to work with a client that you don't like their product, you feel like they're rude to you, you're working for a manager that you don't feel like respects you or is treating your colleagues fairly, then that can be something that's really challenging internally. But if you need to get that income to maintain the lifestyle that you need to live, then that can be a really tough situation. And you don't want to be forced to constantly bounce from job to job. So I think it's incredibly important to really live a life that you're designing is to get enough money to live life on your own terms. And what I mean by that is escape the rat race. Have enough income doing something that you love, or passive income, that you can then craft a life that you really want. So the way that I approached it was finding a really low risk, linear growing business. And so I think when I was getting started out, I was thinking maybe I'll start a tech company and do something that could grow really big, because that's what I had seen in the media, and I thought that that's how you make money through entrepreneurship. But then I realized there are really simple, easy ways to make money, and they're proven ways, and a lot of people have done it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to do something super creative. You just need to find something proven, something that's working today, and do it a little bit better, add your own spin to it, and start to figure out if you can get to whatever that baseline income for you. And for me, that was getting $10,000 a month. And then the other thing was I really wanted to find a business opportunity that had linear growth, which means the more effort that I put in, it would constantly compound slowly over time. Because if you're doing something like dropshipping and eventually you find a product that works and it works really well, but then eventually someone competes with you and it disappears, then you don't kind of continually get that compounding linear growth. But the reason why I chose a marketing agency was you're getting these reoccurring clients, which are kind of like subscription clients. And the more that you get over time, your income slowly rises. It's a very stable business. And I like the fact that it's less stressful, very consistent, reliable income. And if that's really your intention of getting out of the rat race, then it might be worth thinking about what is that safe linear growth opportunity that you can invest your time into. Some other things to think about is make sure you're building real skills at the same time, because if you were a poker player making your money through that, that's great, I've been there, I love that too. But the problem with that is once you leave that career, you only have poker skills and it's quite limited applicability to the rest of your entrepreneurial career. Whereas running something like a marketing agency, you're learning marketing, hiring, sales, all of these really core skills that will be useful with whatever you do in the future. And then obviously do this as enjoyably as you can. So find the values that are aligned to you, bring that into the culture of the company that you're building, and try to make it as authentic as possible and impactful, fun, whatever it is, the things that are important to you, build that into the company too. The last thing with escaping the rat race is find a number that works for you and then try to stick to it as much as possible. Because there's this problem that basically everyone gets, which is lifestyle creep. And what happens is we think that we want to make $100,000 a year because currently we're living on $10,000 a year. And we get there and it's great. And then we start to spend a little bit more. We get a nicer house, we get a nicer car. We start to, whatever it is, travel a little bit more luxuriously. And then eventually we just need to get to 200,000, and that's gonna be the number that's okay. And then we need to get to 500,000, and then we need to get to 1 million. And then you start to make friends with millionaires and billionaires, and they're flying private, and you're like, I just need to get private, and then I'll be good. And so there is a constant game of lifestyle creep that you can get stuck into. And I think the challenge with that is, as much as it can be incrementally more enjoyable to make more money and spend it more on certain areas, there starts to get severe diminishing returns on every dollar that you spend. And so eventually you need to kind of set a line in the sand and say, okay, once I hit this amount of money in my bank, or this amount of passive income, or whatever it is, this amount of recurring revenue, then I'm going to start to make sure that I shift my time and energy into something that is way more aligned to me, and not just focused on escaping the rat race, but doing something that I'm really excited about, aligned, impactful, passionate, all of the other things that I think are really important, and more important than just constantly playing the lifestyle and money game. The next thing is, once you start to get some money, spend it well, because there's a lot of traps of where you can spend money. And I've spent some money in bad ways, I've spent some money in some really good ways. One thing that I've really enjoyed spending money on is building community and connection. So I like to throw a lot of parties. I ended up in Australia buying a house out in the forest, which was something that was super rewarding for me, because I used to host a lot of my friends there. I used to run entrepreneurial events. I used to find all of these interesting people, from professional boxers to the best yoga teacher in Australia to all kinds of quirky characters, where I'd bring them all to the house, I'd learn from them, I'd build these genuine connections, and I found that really rewarding as well. Health, I think, is something that is incredibly important, because if you have more energy throughout the day, and you have more vitality to bring amazing people into your life, work on really interesting projects and impactful projects. So that's something that I think I can't necessarily overspend on. And so I want to make sure that I have a great doctor, I'm eating incredibly good food, I have a home gym, I have things that optimize for my sleep. I think that that's something that has a really high ROI for me on my life. Another thing for me that I'm really excited about is putting money into companies that matter. So as I've started to get more money, I want to start to invest and build companies that are more impact driven, and they're working on something that I'm really excited about and passionate about. And that's something that when I spend money in those areas, I feel really good about as well. Another thing that I think is really important is time management. So constantly thinking about where you can save time, whether it's a cleaner or a personal assistant, or like I said, a home gym or an electric vehicle that you charge at your house so you don't have to keep filling up with gas. Whatever it is, constantly be thinking about how you can spend your money to save more and more time, so that way you're spending your time in the things that you really care about, and not constantly just doing things that you don't love as much, and that will just give you more joy and energy throughout your entire day. And lastly is giving. So whether it's giving to your friends, your family, to charities, find places that you're really excited to give back to, and constantly think about ways and creative ways that you can constantly give, because that will make it feel really rewarding as you're making more money, to know that you're doing something that's really important for the world too. Some of the trappings with money is getting involved in things like status or external thinking. How would other people think? If I buy a house and it's really cool, will this impress other people? If I buy this fashion, will other people care about it as well? And if you're into the fashion, if you're into the car, and if it's for you internally and you love it, then that's amazing. But it can be a dangerous game with money as well, to be playing the external game and constantly thinking about how do other people perceive these things. Because in that game, you have to lose, because there's always someone ahead of you, and there'll always be the next level. That's why the lifestyle game, you have to cut it off at a certain point. And same with the external validation. You really need to try to make sure that the money that you're spending is for what you want and not what other people think about it. So the next thing is, I kind of think of businesses in 3 areas. There is solving like financial freedom and just kind of getting your living and lifestyle covered. And then there's the next business, which might be bigger, which is around luxury and status. And so if you want to build something really big and you want to spend money on a private jet and a Ferrari and things like that, that can be the game that you can play. But then I think like the third game, and the game that I kind of want to skip from going from business 1 to business 3, is the alignment business. And that's something that really hits you on your core, and it's doing something that you feel like is impactful, that you're curious about, that you enjoy, that you find like you can get a mastery level at it. It's something that you want to do for a really long time. And I think that that is where you get the most amount of happiness. I think the luxury game, it can be fun, and it can be fun getting like the credibility of building something big. But I think doing something that when you say, hey, this is what I'm working on, and people can feel, wow, this person's really excited about what they're working on, that's like a beautiful place to be. People are always drawn to that as well. And internally, you'll feel really good about what you're doing. So once you get the opportunity to stop playing the money game and to start playing the alignment game with business, I think that that's really important and powerful. And with the alignment game of business, it's about thinking way longer term. Because with the first business, for me, it was about how can I kind of get financial freedom as fast as possible and then eventually transition out of this business. But now it's thinking, okay, what's something that I could still find myself enjoying in 5, 10, 15 years? And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this YouTube channel, because something that I really like is meeting interesting people and working on a lot of interesting problems. And so if I put myself out there through this channel, then I can meet more interesting people and build more companies together. This is a project that I could see myself still doing in 10, 20 years. And that's why I'm excited to invest time into this project. It's more fun working on the alignment business than constantly playing the status luxury lifestyle game at a certain point. And it's really important to transition into that, I think, for a lot of people. With health, I probably partied a little bit too much in my 20s, but I don't really regret it. I drank a lot and went out a lot and went to a lot of music festivals. And to me, I figured, okay, I'm in my 20s, this is the best time to do it. And then as I get older, then I'll start to try to optimize health and make sure that I can kind of recover as much of those things that I might have damaged as much as possible. But I think in general, I think you'd never want to be in a place in your life where you're neglecting your health too much, because you just don't want to be in a situation where you could get something that could be, lifelong and really hurt yourself. So always be thinking about what are the essentials, trying to work on investing in your sleep as soon as you can, making sure you're getting really good high quality sleep, eating organic food as much as possible, and never being in a state where you're eating too much processed food or ordering out, takeout and things like that. I think that the repercussions of that could be relatively severe. So as soon as you can afford someone, for example, to cook your own meals, I feel like that is a massive unlock for me. I found someone for $25 an hour, and I've created a Notion document of all my favorite recipes. And now I actually have a personal trainer that sets my macros, looks at the recipes, designs the recipes to fit my macros. Then I send that to my person that cooks for me, and they deliver it into a cooler on my front porch. And every Monday and Thursday, I get all my meals delivered. And now I can just eat that food. I know it's super nutritious. I know it's organic. I know it's exactly the macros that my body needs to be optimized for like my hormones, my sleep, my energy, my muscle recovery. So doing the things like that to constantly think about your health. And when you have the money to invest in your health, I think that's really important. But until then, just doing the bare minimums and making sure you are moving, you are walking, you are exercising, and making sure you're taking care of your body, but also enjoying your 20s and making sure that you're living your life and not letting that get too in the way of your life. The other thing that I'd say that's been massive for me that I absolutely love, right here, you can't see it, but I have a treadmill desk and I have red light therapy. This treadmill desk was only like $400 or $500, but I do an hour most mornings, and that gives me like 5,000 or 6,000 steps first hour in the morning while I'm working. It's incredibly easy to work on a treadmill. I think a lot of people think it would be a lot harder than it actually is, but it's quite easy. You get in the rhythm, you start your day with a bit of exercise. I think that's a really good way to just make sure your body's healthy and moving. I recommend it, and a lot of people that try it absolutely love it, so highly recommend that. I've also got an exercise bike in my living room as well, which I find really useful as well during the day, just to keep the body moving and making sure that I'm not just stuck at a desk, hunched over, and not taking care of my body. And the plan is, as I get older and more income and wealth, then I want to start finding the best experts as well to continually invest in my health. I've managed to find the doctor of Argie who I see. I've got another really good doctor as well that I see, and they do my blood panels and look at things. So I've kind of got a scaling level of intentionality with my health as I've kind of got more income, more time. But when you're younger, I don't think that matters too much, just as long as you're doing the bare minimums. The last thing I'll say with health is make it as fun as possible. I think I definitely had times where I was like pushing through workouts that just wasn't that fun. But as soon as I started to work out with friends, I'm lucky enough to have a home gym now. I find that really enjoyable for my cardio. I do basketball. So figuring out ways where it feels effortless, if you can afford a personal trainer and work with them as well, that's a really good way to just make it go super fast and easy. The next thing that is incredibly important is building an amazing community. I think you always want to have an incredible friends around you. You want to have people that inspire you. You want to have people that you're helping as well. I had another mentor that was building a similar business to mine in a different space. I spoke to him maybe 10 times. And again, the impact was so incredibly useful around sales, around hiring, around all these things that I had no idea about. And so constantly be thinking about where are areas you want to learn about. Right now I'm interested in YouTube. So I'm hosting a creator summit where we're getting 10 really interesting, influential creators that have combined, I think, 20 million subscribers between all their channels. And we're hosting a mastermind. And that's just another way where you just constantly want to be surrounded around people that you want to learn from, that you want to get, that you want to have in your network, that you are like-minded with, that you're inspired by. I think that that's incredibly important. And as you get older, you also want to have a lot of peers as well, where people that are doing similar things to you, that are excited about it, that people that you genuinely love. So you might want to think about going really broad with your network and meeting a wide array of people. and then kind of filtering down to, the people that are most aligned, your favorite 20 people in your core group and your favorite 50 in your second core group. But really thinking about making sure you have a community that you're really excited about is really impactful. With your community, always think about how you can be positive, give value to these people, help them solve their problems. And, can you connect them to someone? Can you help them with their business? Can you be emotional support for them when they're going through something hard? And make sure you take time out of your day to look after them, make sure that they feel seen and, appreciated by you. I think it's really important. Personally, I use a CRM to manage my social circle, where I basically, everyone that I meet, I write their location, what they're working on, how frequently do I want to chat with them, and then when did I most recently chat with them? And then the CRM will tell me I'm overdue to chat with that person. And then I also put people into certain categories, whereas like one where you might have like deepest life alignment with, and those are the people that you want to go deepest with, maybe 15 to 20 people. Then twos where you have a strong alignment, but you're currently maybe in different life stages. And then threes where you might have the widest group of people, hundreds of people, and you love them as humans, but maybe you just don't synergistically connect as much, but they're people that you still want to have in your life and invite them to events and things like that. Also just with the happiness of life, I think that sharing life with people that you're going through life is like one of the beautiful things of life, with your family, with your friends, building a loving safety net to catch you when things get hard. Be there for like people's high and low moments is just so important. And so I just think that this is like so core to just living a good life. 6 is to find someone that you want to do life with. The sooner that you start looking for this person, the better, because I think that it can be incredibly hard to find someone that is amazing, incredible, that you're deeply aligned with, that this is the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. And I know a lot of people have like a fun phase and a single phase, and I think that is important for self-development, but I think people overthink that, or they spend too much time in general dating people that they know intuitively that they're not going to be with for the rest of their life. But this is like probably the highest correlation, most important decision that you make in your life. So I think that the more amount of time that you intentionally spend with trying to find that person is going to yield better results for you. And you don't want to be later and later and later in your life trying to find that person and maybe finding it difficult and feeling kind of, behind on that. I think in this scenario, you want to just be really happy with yourself. So the more that you live as true as possible to the person that you admire, then the more that's going to resonate in the world, and it's going to be attractive to other partners. People are going to feel how excited you are in life, and they're going to want to be part of your life. So do the work on yourself, and don't feel like someone should just love you for who you are, because you are nothing. You are a spectrum of opportunities, and you could be this person, you could be this person, you could be that person. And so it's up to you to be optimizing yourself to really be the best version of yourself. So that way, when that amazing person does come, you're in the right state to actually make sure that they can see the best version of yourself and they want to be with you. For me personally, I think a volume of dating is really important to meet a lot of people and find the person that you're most excited with. Invest in yourself so that you feel really comfortable in these scenarios as well. So you feel like you're approaching dating with an abundance mentality as opposed to a scarcity mentality. I've found that the things that you really need to make a love last forever is 5 things. It's chemistry, how excited you are to see that person, how's the vibe, the shared vision for the future. You need to have an alignment where you're not willing to massively compromise on your shared vision for the future. So there has to be a strong alignment there. You have to be able to communicate through conflict. Conflict is inevitable, and you want to be with someone that can communicate in a similar way to you so that you can constantly evolve together. You need to feel seen so that you feel like they understand you, they understand your values, they understand why important things are important to you. They understand your jokes or whatever it is. And the last thing is to feel inspired, because if you're with someone that is making you a better version of yourself every day, then you're going to be really excited about spending more and more time with them. For me personally, I think monogamy is going to be yielding better results than an open relationship. I've seen a lot of people explore both of these ideas and have mixed results on both sides of things. I think if you just focus on one business, then it's going to hit a higher level than if you focused on 5 businesses. And in some ways, it's more fun to focus on 5 businesses because you get to do a little bit of a lot of different things. But if you focus on one thing, and you get to a higher height than you would ever got to if you're diversifying yourself. And I think it's the same with the relationship. And yes, it might be more fun to be like experiencing all these other connections, but there is something that you're leaving on the table that you're not like going to invest in your core relationship that could hit a higher height. So I believe that is going to yield the best dividends for life. I think like everything, love is something that you have to continually work on as well. Me and my girlfriend recently created a spreadsheet where we track the times that we're not feeling connected, what happened, and then how we reconnected. We track like truth that we feel about it, our relationship, like we love each other and that we support each other and that we want the best for each other. And so that way when we're feeling disconnected, we can read that this is something that we know is true. We also track some of our favorite moments. We have like a shared folder of all of the things that we want to do together. We have like date ideas that we constantly add to. And so we're being intentional about making sure that this relationship is as good as possible. And if we're finding things that aren't always working, then we think, okay, what is the root here and how can we build a system to make sure that it becomes as effortless and as loving as possible? Because we really want our relationship to be in the highest state as much as possible. And that is working on ourselves, our health, making sure we're in the best state, but also looking at our own pitfalls in a relationship, make sure that we're working on them together to continue to evolve as a couple. Number 7, learn intelligently. When I was younger, I would read a lot of different books, and I think that was amazing. Eventually, I'd find topics that I'd love. I'd read a lot about it. I think reading is incredibly impactful, particularly when you're young, to just constantly be learning about new ideas. I remember I would just every time I'd read a book, it would just expand my horizon of the world. It would be incredibly impactful. But these days, I've read a lot of books, and now when I read books, most of the time I find them very incremental. It's I might get one new idea, but I'm finding them less and less impactful. So as I've gotten older, I still think books are really important and finding the right books, but being more cautious about the books that I read, not just reading and reading. And then the other thing is paying for mentors and coaches, because as you get older and you have more success, then you can just find someone that has solved a problem for you and pay, because your shortcut to gap the knowledge that you have, or the ignorance gap, is incredibly important. So, let's say I start doing YouTube and I have no idea what I'm doing, and I can figure it out by myself by watching other YouTubers and giving it a go for 5 years, or I can just figure out who solved this, can I pay them, and let's work together one-on-one for the next few months and get this as good as possible. So I think that that's really important. Also, when you're younger, you really want to lean on mentors. And then also the last really important place for learning is through osmosis, through your community and your connections. And that's why it's so important to have people that you're inspired by, that you really admire the way that they're living, because then you can constantly be learning by how they're living their life, what they're learning, and bring that into your own life. Last thing I'll say with knowledge, it's important to have some database of all the knowledge that you're learning in life as well, because we're going to constantly get so many different ideas. So I use something called Memrise, where I turn different book ideas and summaries into flashcards that I can continually learn. So that way, if there's important concepts that I want to make sure I can recall at the right time, I'm constantly learning that, as well as a Notion document for all of my different ideas. And that way I can categorize them, put them in different topics. And so I'll be like, how do I think about investing? I can see investing and then read all the book summaries that I've done on investing, and can keep my ideas being a little bit more front of mind when I need them. Number 8, time management. I'm just obsessed with removing as much from your life as possible and leading the most efficient life as possible. So technology, I use things like Superhuman for email. I use text.com for all my messaging, because it brings all of your messaging platforms into one place. It makes it super efficient. You can just use keyboard shortcuts to move through that really quickly. I use an EA virtually, which does she books doctor's appointments for me and manages my emails. I do food delivery every Monday and Thursday. I have a water filter so I don't have to buy water. I have an EV car, I have a home gym, I have cleaners twice a week. I'm constantly thinking about ways where I can optimize my time. One of the things that I love that I kind of joke about is I have shoes that you can just slide straight on, so you don't have to do the shoelaces every day. And it's 20 seconds every day, but I love every time that I figured out a new way to be more and more optimal with my time. And so for me, I think just constantly being really critical around removing the things that don't excite you, so you can constantly make sure your time and energy is spent on the things that you really get energy from. It's going to create a happier existence where you're just more joyous, and I'm excited to go to bed because I listen to the podcast, and I'm excited to use my pillowcase because I know it's an Argie pillowcase, which is my company, which is an awesome pillowcase. But I'm constantly optimizing for doing the things that I like and not having to do the things that you don't like. And I think it's a real privilege to be able to do that in life. Number 9 is stay happy. So personally, I believe that when I think about what is the meaning of my life, I personally don't believe that there is any meaning. And I feel like my life is irrelevant, probably like everyone else's as well. So therefore, it's up to us as an individual to determine our own meaning in life. And I believe to choose happiness is the thing that a lot of us really desire, right? We want to be happy and live a good existence for the limited time that we have on earth. So what does that mean to be happy? Well, to me, it doesn't mean about just having a fun moment here and there and chasing the next high, but it means living as true to yourself as possible, living in integrity with yourself, both from your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. So it's really important then to really understand your values in the world, to make sure that you're properly living to those, as well as having a system to constantly check in on those values and constantly refine the process. As you stray away and you feel that it's not feeling good internally, you're getting that signal, then you need to build systems to constantly evolve so you can get more and more intentional about how you're spending your time and how you're constantly living as close to the person that internally you really want to become. I think it's really important to constantly have goals and something that we're moving towards and make sure that you're checking into them regularly. Personally, I like to make a really awesome goal spreadsheet every year where I have a word or a theme every year. I have the people that inspire me, I have my why, I have my values, I have my long-term goals, my one-year goals, and then the habits that I want to commit to for the year. And that makes it really exciting as I'm working towards that, because I'm excited about where I'm going, the person that I'm becoming in the journey, and it gives me something to check in on throughout the year when inevitably things will get hard, I'll get sick, things won't go my way, and then it will bring me back to a grounded state about why this was exciting in the first place and give me that constant motivation and that excited feeling to keep moving towards something I'm excited about. It's really important to constantly have some system to check in with yourself regularly. And so there's so many different ways that you can do this. Personally, I use a tracker every week where I have 15 values that I feel like are highly correlated to my happiness, and I rank myself every week, and I want to get as close to 10 on everything as possible. And then I rank my happiness as well, so I can see that these things correlate to my happiness. I also have daily trackers where I look at routines. I've worked with coaches as well, where we have a time to chat, kind of like therapy, but for life, where we chat about how you're going in life and they're a mirror to you. You can have social groups that can hold you accountable. You can do meditation, you can do spiritual practices, you can use psychedelics if you use them safely. It can be an incredible resource. There are a lot of tools to make sure that you're taking time to check in on yourself, maybe even taking time out in the mountains or somewhere in nature and really journaling, taking time. But I think it's really important to constantly have something built into the way that you're living to make sure you're not just go, 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 but you're taking time to reflect, make sure that you're taking the lessons that you're learning from life and constantly adding to the system so that you're living in more and more integrity to yourself as you evolve, so that you can be as happy as possible. For me personally, I like to party every 3 or so weeks because I feel like it's really important to appreciate humanity, everyone else around you, and how far we've gone. Everyone is in their own journey. So if you can take a zoomed out lens, then you can be as loving as possible to everyone and try to stay in that state as much as possible. That will give you a happier existence, and it'll also just give everyone around you a better existence as well. Another big thing with happiness is to try to become someone that you admire. So really constantly be looking in the world for people that are doing things that you really admire, and what are the things that you really are excited about. Reverse engineer that, bring that into your own life. And if you become someone that you admire, that's going to make you really happy as a person. Number 10 is avoid traps. So there's so many traps in the world, from your social media to YouTube to all types of technology. And the way that the world's evolving is that technology is getting better and better to be more and more addictive. So we need to be thinking about ways that we can avoid traps. Some of that could be routines and systems. So personally, I'm not a huge routines guy, but I still have some basic routines that can be helpful for me, like when I like to train, how I like to eat, maybe some of the tracking as well. I might not be doing a strict morning routine every morning, but it still gives me some structure to my day to make sure that I'm moving in the direction that I want to, and I'm being in integrity to the way that I want to live. I think play is really important because it's super fun, and never let life get too serious. So enjoying things like board games, hikes, music festivals, constantly learning things, whether it's musics or arts. I went really broad with learning. I did monthly challenges for 3 years. I learned something every month, and I became a dabbler and good at a lot of things. But I think it's really rewarding to pick a few things that you can get into flow into and really enjoy them. I think having one thing physical and one thing creative, and become really good at that. So it's a time in your life to just zone out and be in flow. And if you're a rock climber, just be, in that zone and climb for hours and connect with people over that thing. But if you constantly dabble between too many hobbies, then you won't get that pure enjoyment of just mastering something and being able to dance with it and really enjoy it. So I think that that's a beautiful experience in life. There's a lot of things that people consider where to live, like taxes or the weather, but I think the most important thing is the density of like-minded, inspiring people that are around you, because the more people that are inspiring, the more that you're going to bring in that energy to your life, and that's going to bring more happiness and more motivation to do the things that you really want to do in the world. And choosing where to live, Personally, I like to find a distribution, if you can, between city life and nature life. And so I might have something like an 85% city life, 15% split for where I'm at right now, which gives me time to be out of the madness and reflect and journal and, take time out of your life, but really enjoy the city life when you're there, to really be around as many people as possible and have as much going on and just feel that excitement and motivation to get things done in the world and play and enjoy the people around you. Number 11 is enjoy family. If you're lucky enough to have an amazing family, then give generously to them and support them where you can. Enjoy that relationship as much as you can. And I personally don't have children yet, but that's something that is going to be a really exciting gift to look forward to in the future. So number 12 is give to the world. So I think that for all of us, when we get a chance to be impactful for the world, it's a great feeling. For me, some of the causes that I'm excited about is to try to reduce animal suffering. That's something that's always been really important to me. And also to help educate the younger me's in the world around entrepreneurship, life, happiness, just take so many of the lessons that's taken me so long to learn and give that back so that they can 10x me in life and do amazing things for the world. This is my playbook. These are some of the ideas that have been really impactful for my life. It's taken me a lot of learning and ups and downs to get here, but hopefully there's a few lessons in there to help you on your journey. If you are earlier on your journey and you're trying to escape the rat race, then I made a video on how I made my first 100K and how you could too, and hopefully that will help you on your journey.